There is a story about the life of Omar Khayyam, generally referred to as the tale of three schoolmates. Allegedly, when Omar Khayyam was a schoolboy, he and two of his schoolmates, a man by the name Hassan Sabbah and Nizam al-Mulk, they made a vow to each other that later on in life, if they become successful, they would assist each other in life and help each other promote through the ranks. As it turned out, Hassan Sabbah became the much feared leader of the Ismailis, who initiated an underground campaign against the Seljuk dynasty. Nizam al-Mulk, on the other hand, became the Chamberlain, the Grand Vizier of the Sultan, and Omar Khayyam became a scholar. This story is told and retold in a number of ways and has become part of the popular culture. In all likelihood, this story is not accurate for historical reasons, for differences in age, and so on. But symbolically, it does represent something else.
The political and cultural significance of the story is important in that we see in one culture area, and that is the Greater Khorasan, different tendencies gelling and swelling and coming up and manifesting themselves in various attempts, either as conformists or as rebels or as eternal questioners. I think the three personages we have here, one rises through the ranks of state administration to become a hugely successful and very powerful head minister. The second one becomes a political rebel, and as a political rebel, he proves his genius in his military strategies and campaigns against the same state which is being administered by his friend of the youthful age. And at the same time, the thinking, brooding, and intellectual mind of Khayyam questions not only this and that, but the whole order, not only of society, but also of the universe entire.
ساقی گل و سبز بس طربناک شده است، دریا که هفته دیگر خاک شده است. می نوش و گلی بچین که تا در نگری، گل خاک شده است و سبز خاشاک شده.
In one of his philosophical treatises, Khayyam makes a noteworthy inference in favor of Sufism among the intellectual schools of thought championed by theologians, philosophers, Ismailis, and the Sufis. This notable conclusion, along with the appearance of imageries in his poetry that traditionally are associated with the Sufi poetic genre, have instigated a long-standing debate among scholars about Khayyam's affiliation with Sufism.
Historically, there have been attempts in order to turn Khayyam into Sufi. The attempt is entirely misplaced, and one should not reduce Khayyam into a Sufi. Now, there's not that there's anything wrong with being a Sufi. Rumi was both a Sufi and a poet. Ibn Arabi was a great philosophical thinker and a Sufi. The problem is simply difference of category. So far as Khayyam is concerned, he is a poet par excellence. And poetry and a poet operates within a realm which is entirely sui generis, cannot be reduced to a philosophy or to mysticism or to theology or to jurisprudence.
Khayyam was the author of a treatise on the meaning of being, the meaning of existence. And there he outlines, he delineates that there are four traditions of intellectual thought. The first are the theologians, the mutakallim, and then are the philosophers, the peripatetic philosophers, the rationalists. Then there are the tahlimiyan or the batiniye, which are the Ismailis, the Ismaili Shiites, and then the fourth group, which he identifies himself with and he says are the highest and are the to be endorsed, he endorses them, are the Sufis. And this is in a treatise, his treatise on being, which no scholar to date, as far as I know, has rejected. Khayyam is identifying himself here with the Sufis. So we have his own explicit words saying that. Scholars may wish to debate whether or not his quatrains have any Sufi meaning or not. They're welcome to debate it. He himself tells you that he belongs to the Sufis.
My own humble understanding of Khayyam is that he was one of the most remarkable figures of Islamic intellectual history in Iran. He was a philosopher, a very acute philosopher, was a scientist, and on the side he did write poetry. I do not believe that he thought primarily of himself as a poet, but even the poems, if you look at it, always point to the significance of the present moment, of not wasting one's life. And if you understand the famous saying, as-Sufi ibn al-Waqt, the Sufi is the son of the moment, you will understand that this is very far from being something other than Sufi poetry. I always read his poetry as Sufi poetry. And he wrote that of all the ways to knowledge, that of Sufism is the best and the highest. So also the element of Sufism exists in him.
I think Omar Khayyam was certainly not a Sufi in the traditional sense of the word, as Hafiz and Rumi were. Were there mystical elements in Omar Khayyam's thoughts? Certainly yes, but incorporating, relying, using mystical elements does not make a person Sufi. Omar Khayyam's emphasis on temporality, for example, is one of the salient features of Sufism. Sufi is the son of time. Sufi ibn al-Waqt است. His emphasis on love, on living in presence, and so many other topics and issues certainly sounds like Sufi poetry. But when you put that within the whole context and the framework of Omar Khayyam's project, we can realize that he is really espousing and advocating a different kind of a wisdom. One that you could say flirts with Sufism, incorporates some of its elements, but it is not Sufism in the traditional sense of the word.